It's 10:15. I will go ahead and introduce you. So this is Mr. Nate Nemi. He is at St. Henry High School. I guess it's considered in Covington. So we're up here in the Northern Kentucky region. I'm your room host, Natasha Smith from NKCES. And Mr. Nemi's resume includes this is his 33rd year of education, 14 years as a science teacher at Highlands and Ryle, 12 years as assistant principal at Ryle High School, 4 years as the principal at Dixie Heights High School, and he is now in his third year as assistant principal in St. Henry. That's quite the laundry list of accomplishments there, Mr. Nemi.
Thank you, Natasha. I'll go ahead and get started. I'm assuming that you can see my screen. I think I'm sharing it correct. Great. Just a quick kind of synopsis. As Natasha said, it's my 33rd year of education. It's been a long journey. A lot has changed over 33 years. When I got out of the classroom, became an assistant principal at Ryle High School. Our school went on a professional learning community journey. We wanted to get started with PLCs. And as part of the PLC work, as we got started to implement that, it became very clear that in order for us to meet the needs of all students, that we needed to add a flex period in our day. So I don't know whether the people that are on here are currently thinking about adding a flex period or wanting to improve upon your flex period. I'm hoping that what I share today will help in both of those avenues. I'm always available to talk about this stuff. I love talking about PLC work. I love talking about flex periods. And so in that journey of us getting started, we made a lot of mistakes, but we also had good intentions in mind. And one of the things that occurred as we got started is we had a teacher at Ryle that was also a computer programmer. And so with our flex period, obviously one of the big things that everybody gets concerned about is how do you manage a flex period where it's truly flexible, where students get to choose where they're going, or teachers can offer different things and hold everybody accountable and know where everybody is and all those kind of things. So through that process, we developed a computer program that we call a SOS system. So part of student optimized services. So I am a part of that. I just want to give a heads up to that is that we are part of that with that tool. And I'll share a little bit of that as we go. But it is really important as you want to develop this period in your day. Student choice becomes very important. And I'm going to talk about 10 reasons that you should have a flex period in your day and 10 reasons how it will enhance that flex period that you have. And then we can talk about any questions you may have along the way with that. So getting started, one of the big things as a principal and assistant principal that I learned is we really want to empower our students and we want to empower our staff. Oftentimes, what happens in staffing is we kind of dictate what the staff has to do, and adding a flex period and providing flexibility really allows the teachers to be empowered to work with students with what they need the help on at that particular time. It also empowers students to take ownership of their education. When I was at Dixie, one of the phrases I liked was saying, own your education. We had to get our kids to own their own education. You have to determine what you need, when you need it, and how you need that. So with that process that adding a flex period does and having a tool to help with that, you accomplish both of those things in there. And so what I've learned through my extensive years at Ryle and at Dixie and currently at St. Henry is that with a flex period, we accomplish several things. One is that we reduce student failures. That's an age-old problem, and teachers have the ability to really control when students don't turn in their homework and get them in their classes, give them individual instruction if they need it, small group instruction. But it is definitely proven to reduce your failure rate. Getting students to really own their education, it's a lifelong thing for us is to be able to prioritize and teach kids how to prioritize. And so that is one of those things that really helps with adding this flex period. And then, one of the byproducts is that students will often take harder classes because they know they have an in-school time built in where they can get the help they need. In the traditional setting, when they leave school, when they didn't understand their AP chemistry work, they don't have an avenue to find that out to get to the teacher. And a lot of times teachers can't stay after school, students can't stay after school. And so what happens is with those harder classes, students are more inclined to get that assistance because they know they can get help while in school. And one of the big things when I was at both Royal and Dixie, but improving your special education supports, being able to pull students, we have collaborative classrooms and there's pull outs and different things, but we want to limit the amount of instruction that's lost. And so having this flex time to be able to pull small groups of special ed students out really helps as well. And we found that in both cases, our special ed test scores went up. We supported them much better than we did without the flex period. So those are some things that really help. I want to talk about 10 reasons why you should implement it, or 10 reasons that improve your flex period in the day. And these are 10 I'm going to touch on, and we'll kind of go through those one by one. As I talked about already, empowering students. And at any time you have any questions on anything, or want to push back on anything, please, unmute yourself or put it in the chat, and we can talk about that. But empowering students, one of the things about school, and this is one of the things that really bothered me as I became an administrator and really trying to lead a school, is school does not provide a lot of choice on a daily basis for students. And actually, it's sort of prison-like. I mean, you think about schools and with all the safety, when the bell rings, the kids go out in the hallway and they go either side of the hallway, and then they enter their class, bell rings, all the doors are shut, and everything is very scripted with that. And what I've found is it really improves the culture of the school when the students have this 30 or 35 or 40-minute period in their day where they get to choose whatever they want to do. It could be an enrichment activity, it could be exercise, it could be getting special help, it could be whatever those are. They really value the opportunity to make those selections. And what happens, it actually decreases your failure rate, because students who are failing lose the option to pick things that are that they want to do that might be enrichment activities. So for example, if the gym is open, you can have the gym open, you got 30 or 40 kids in there burning off energy. And if a kid's failing a class through our system, you can limit the choice for that student, so they would not be able to select the gym because they're failing a class. And so that's a motivating factor for students because they want to have their time. They value that time. And so by empowering that student, they are going to learn what is that priority, and I've got to make that priority. And so the other thing is we're teaching them to make decisions that help me, so they get to own that part of it. What's going to help me? Do I need to see my math teacher? Do I need to see my science teacher? What do I need for that day? And the nice thing about the system is those choices can be made every day. You can have set up the system where they make a selection 15 minutes prior to the flex schedule, so they can make that decision at the last minute. They really value that time. And I can tell you, the schools that have implemented it and the schools I've been at, the students love it. And that's an important part of building a culture in your school. The second thing is empowering teachers. So, teachers need time with students, especially those who are at risk. We know that students don't always learn at the same time or at the same speed. Some may need a little extra help. And so we empower our teachers to really provide this time. We should be helping kids regardless in our class time. But sometimes trying to help those kids that need the help takes away from the kids who already understand it. And we have to have that balance. Well, with a flex time, we can take those 4 or 5 or 6 kids that maybe need a little extra time. We can assign them to my class. I can give them the extra help they need. You have students who don't turn in homework. I just talked about how students like that time. You can have a teacher who will, I have these students who didn't turn in the homework. Well, I'm assigning you to my flex tomorrow. You're going to turn in your homework. You're going to do your stuff. And oftentimes I did this here when I went back in the classroom at St. Henry. I had kids turn in assignments so they could get back out in the free time. And I'm like, great, let's get that assignment turned in and what that is. So you're empowering the teachers to be able to hold kids accountable for that. But it provides the opportunity for teachers to help students who need it the most. And the nice thing that teachers like is they create their own purpose for that time. So I'm not telling them as an administrator, you have to do this, this, and this. I'm trusting them as a professional learning community and a team that they're working with. What do my students need today? What do they need tomorrow? What are we going to be doing next week in preparation for that? So the teachers are empowered to use that time to benefit them as well. Here's what I love is equity. Things need to be equitable for all students. And when we're talking about instruction, sometimes the equitable doesn't come into play because students who need the extra help oftentimes are those at-risk students, not all the time, but they're also kids that are obligated after school. They don't have an option to stay after school because transportation. They don't have an option to stay after school because they have siblings they need to get home to. They may have jobs. They may have other sports or whatever it may be. There's personal lives that are there. And so, because we can't do it after school or before school, building that time in the day, that 30, 35 minutes in the day, provides that opportunity for those kids. And it's available for all students. It's not for only those who can provide the transportation or who can get their school early, that kind of stuff. And we all know that some students need that additional time and support. And we need to be able to provide that. And we can't let the outside, I always told our teachers, you have control of them when they're in your classroom. Once they leave your classroom, you lose control. We have control of them while they're in school. We lose a sense of control when they go out of school. And so having that time in the day, the flex time in the day, provides additional time and support for all students, regardless of their situations at home. When we think of students who are at risk with that equity for all, they miss school more often. And so what happens is that if they miss school, they lose some instruction. And if we pull them out to take that quiz or to do that assignment, they're missing more instruction. So having that flex period there provides that time in the school day where they can do that and where they don't lose the instruction. I like the proactive help, access to supports. When I think of proactive help, I think of a student who may have a problem processing reading. Their processing skills and reading a novel is not there. So as a teacher, if I know that, I could pull them in. I could read through or have them read through what we're going to do that day. When they go in that day, now they're hearing it for a second time. They're going to be able to process that better. They're going to be able to answer questions better. And so being able to get proactive help as well, and with foundational skills that might be there. So all those are very important. One of the things that we did not do particularly well when I was at Ryle, because we were so academically focused, but we've got some schools that I work with that are really building the culture in their school through clubs. So one school I know, Walton Verona, they have a club day every week, and they use this system, the SOS system, to allow their teachers to set up workshops or set up clubs that kids can select. And Adam Nash, the principal over there, said it's amazing because all these kids who couldn't do after school clubs are now a part of something. They're making connections with other students who have similar interests. They're making connections with teachers who have those interests. He said this one club that they were into, like ghosts and different spirits, and the teacher said, "Hey, can we come up on a Saturday night and turn out all the lights and be in the school and do?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." And so he had like 30 kids that came up, and they had this whole thing, and that never would have happened without the opportunity for these things. So it's a great way to build relationships with kids with that community club. You could do clubs once a month, once a week may not be the best thing, but having those opportunities to build that community and having opportunity for kids to be able to do things within the school day that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do afterwards is an awesome way to build that community within your school. The other thing is I've talked about a little bit is student choice. Students have limited choices within the school day. We already talked about that. With Flex, they get to make that personal decision each day. If I need to get my energy out, I'm an ADHD kid, and I just can't sit in class for 6 hours a day. I've got to break that up. It's a perfect opportunity for them to get energy out. I may be that I'm taking a hard course load. I want time to be able to have a quiet place where I can just do homework. I don't need help. I just need that extra time. If I'm in a class and I struggle with what the content is, having that academic time, the support where I can go to that teacher specifically and say, "Hey, I don't understand how to do this. I'm not sure what to do that." Those are awesome. Enrichment opportunities where you can really expand upon your knowledge, and teachers can offer those kind of things. Those are things students love, that choice. They own that part of it. And it's an incentive for them. Again, if they're making progress, they're going to have those choices. Then as a school, we can limit those choices, and we can also assign kids who aren't doing as well. And so the system has the ability to, that you work with that to be able to limit choices as well. It's a very big motivating factor. One of the things we all know, I think, executive functioning skills. Man, students, they don't always have this skill. And I can remember in my first time, I was a teacher. I was a basketball coach, and I taught chemistry and AP chemistry and coached basketball, and I really feel like I was a very organized person with a lot of things. I became an assistant principal, and one of my colleagues said, "Hey, do you have your note card?" And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I always have a note card that I put in my pocket." And I said, "What do you have a card for?" And he goes, "I write down things, my to-do list on this note card, and it's available for me all the time." And I was like, "I don't need that note card. I really am organized and do things." And I can remember I went to my principal's office, and he asked me, "I need you to do this." And I said, "Okay." I walked out, and as you know, as an assistant principal, you walk down the hall, this person stops to talk to you, this other person needs you for something else. By the time I got to my office, I forgot what he wanted me to do. And at that point, I said I need a note card so that I could write those things down and cross them off. What is that? That's executive functioning in some form or capacity. Students need to learn these things as well. And so Flex offers that opportunity for students to practice this. They can, and this can be supported by school personnel. You can, as a school, on Mondays at both Dixie and Ryle was our social emotional learning days. That was where we did a lot of things in terms of supporting students social emotionally. We had lessons that way. We also did our scheduling that way, but it's a way to teach them, all right, what are you planning for this week? What do you need to do for the week to try and get ahead of that? So you can do some mentorship with that as well. But students learn to prioritize what's most important today. What was most important yesterday might change today because something else has come up. And so they have to be able to evaluate that. But the nice thing is they get to prioritize that, what they need that day, but also the week ahead. And so they can make selections up to a week ahead. So we, as an executive function as a school, sometimes we don't do a great job of this. And I think this offers a great opportunity to support students in terms of that executive functioning skills. Now, inevitably, we talk about skill support because why we want to do a flex period, we need to get help for students. You talk about your MTSS, your tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Tier 1 obviously is your instruction, that base instruction. All students, all teachers get the tier 1. Tier 2 is where you're going to offer a little bit extra support. This goes great into that tier 2 instruction because it gives you additional time to give that extra support. Some students need that extra time to be successful, and we can't always do that tier 2 support in our class time. Not all students need the same. The thing that I loved as we were at Ryle and Dixie is that we created the professional learning community. So we had, for example, at Ryle, we had 3 Algebra 1 teachers. And so we created a time within the school day. We were able, at a large school, and I suggest this if you get common planning period for that team. If you can't, you can use the flex time to do that. So what we did initially is we used flex time to give our teams a meeting time. But if you have your team working together and they're doing PLC work and they're doing assessments and they're evaluating what their students know or don't know, because the 4 essential questions of PLC, what do students know? What do we do if they don't? What do we want students to learn? How do we know they know it or not? What do we do if they know it? What do we do if they don't know it? And so with the PLC work, Flex works great because if I have a team of 3 and I've done a common assessment, this quiz on I think of chemistry and balancing chemical equations. Well, I might have some students who can balance that chemical equation, no problem. They don't need extra help. I've got some who can do part of it, but can't get through it all. And I got others who can't even get started. So when I work with the teachers as a team, we can say, okay, what kids can't get started on this at all? Let's take those kids and put them with teacher A. We'll assign those kids to you. We'll tell them they've got to go there. They report there. You give a mini lesson on that. There's others who understand the first part, but they just can't get past that second part. Well, so now I'm going to take those kids and I'm going to put them with teacher B, and you're going to support them specifically on how to get from after the first step to the second step to the final step. And then a teacher might be there just to support for homework help or do makeup quizzes, whatever. But you work together as a team to offer support for the specific skills that the students need at that time. And that's a great thing. RTI work is great, and being able to work on functional skills, that lag behind are good. But in high school and middle school, we've got to get kids understanding material and mastering that content to be able to move forward. And so we got to do that on a day-to-day basis. I think that the skill support is very important with that. And I think about, you can set up at Dixie, we set up where we had certain kids who were really low in reading. And so 2 days a week, we put those kids together, and we had an intervention teacher who was really working on those foundational basic reading skills to help support the other stuff. We did a variety of things where we had a class that was kind of our tier 3 class, but we wanted to give even additional time. We piggybacked that with our flex time. And so then they could have, a period where they were in the class and they have 30 extra minutes that they could stay in there to be able to get some more additional work if needed. So there's a lot of creative ways you can do with the flex to be able to meet the needs that you need. School supports is huge with the flex period. One of the big things is college visits. In the old way, a college counselor or a college person would come in, they'd be there at lunch, kids would come up, talk to them at lunch. But we're able to, with the flex period, say the University of Kentucky is coming on Thursday. Sign up in the SOS if you want to hear about the University of Kentucky. That University of Kentucky person has that people she knows or he knows that is interested in UK, has them for 30 minutes, can meet with them, talk to them, and it really has improved that aspect of the college visit for our people. You can set up opportunities. We have obviously college applications. So you can set up workshops where students can come in and get help with college apps. If you've got Governor School of the Arts or Governor Scholars Program, they got the application process. You can set up time in your flex period to have kids who are interested in that, give them support for that. Those are big things. And it's hard to do that after school. It's hard you don't want to pull them out of class. So those are great to be able to do that. Here at St. Henry, we have a transfer club. So any kid that transfers into here to our school, we put them as part of the transfer club. Once a month, they meet together during flex, and we have student mentors that are in there, and they build community with these transfers. It's a great way to help them build that community. There's peer social groups. We have kids who deal with anxiety, they deal with depression, so as a counselor, or you can do small groups, you can pull kids in. Now you're not pulling them out of instruction time. Again, we don't want to lose instruction time. We want to be able to do this at times when it's available for that. You could do class meetings. I know at the beginning of the year and during the year, you might need to meet with all freshmen. And so you can do it during flex time. You're not messing up instructional time for all the teachers. They're not losing that time because your teachers want that time to be able to instruct. So the possibilities are endless in regards to how you can use it to support the things within your school, however you do that. I know one of the nice things is when you're getting into scheduling and things, you can utilize the SOS to have kids be able to answer questions with scheduling. I mean, there's just so many things you can do with it within your school. It's just really up to your imagination and doing that. Teacher collaboration. Again, we started this work as part of the PLC process, and I can't emphasize enough the power of the PLC work. It really changed my philosophy in education when I became a principal and went to PLC work and doing that. And it can be overwhelming. But one of the big things we found with the PLC work is we have to provide teachers with time to collaborate. So when we started at Ryle, we were such a large school. It's like there's no way we can do a common planning period for our teachers. And so what we developed is we developed where one day a week we would give our small teacher teams, we called them instructional learning teams. So for example, let's say Algebra 1. So we had 3 teachers taught Algebra 1. And we might say on Tuesday, the Algebra 1 team, those 3 teachers, are going to not have any workshops for students, but they're going to meet as a team. They're going to have 30 minutes to meet, and that way they can talk about students, they can talk about common assessments, they can talk about the things that are going on at that time, they can talk about the work that needs to be. So we use that to create meeting time because it was a valuable part of that. So that was one of the reasons that we had to develop a program. But if you can create a schedule, a master schedule. And one of the fun things was is I'm a logistics guy and I'm a guy that takes a challenge. And so my principal said there's no way we can do a common planning period for our teachers. And so I 1 year as we went through the scheduling process, I made my own pseudo schedule. And basically the bottom line is we found a way for our core teachers and their ILTs to have common planning periods. The impact that had on our collaboration was humongous because now they had that one period and they were expected to meet once a week. And the collaboration that happened not only in that meeting, but because they're all in that same planning time, the casual conversations that happen in the hallways or during that time at the copy room really exponentially increased the work that we were doing. So I would say that teacher collaboration is huge for implementing this, as well as being able to leverage teacher strengths in the intervention work that you're trying to do. I was thought I was a good teacher, but back when I was teaching, we didn't have this, and all I can tell you is I thought I was a good teacher. There's no evidence of that or whatever. But if I was with a team, if there is assessment that we're doing and one teacher seems to do it much better than me, and the data is showing that, I want my students to hear it from them. So now we have an opportunity to share our strengths, and there's things that I might do well that I would take your kids because we want it equitable for all. We don't want kids to get a different look and a different thing. So those are the 10 reasons. These are all centered around that PLC work, four essential questions of PLC that I touched on. What is it we expect the students to learn? How we know they've learned it? What do we do when they respond? How will we respond when they don't learn? And that's where the flex period comes in. How are you going to respond when students are not mastering what you want them to do? And so the flex time really helps in doing that, as well as pushing kids on the other way. So many people, if you're out there and you're like, how do I even implement this? How does it come about? It's got to be a priority. It's got to be a part of the work that you're doing and the vision that you have to meet the needs for all students and help your teachers do that. So first thing is you have to prioritize. The second thing is you really need to have a lot of conversations with your leaders in your school. Change is hard. The biggest one of the things that happens is teachers start looking, well, my class times are going to have to be shorter because I'm going to have to take some minutes off of our period. If I'm a 6 period day, I may be going from 60 minutes to 54 minutes. Well, 6 minutes of instruction time over the course of a year, that's a lot of minutes. Where I would counteract that is that, but if you are using that time, that 6 minutes over those weeks and those 35 minutes with a kid that really needs the help that you can't help directly because you have a whole full class and you're not holding back kids that already know it, I think it's a good trade-off. One of the things I did at Dixie is we were on a schedule that had 4 lunches. And I was like, there's got to be a way to reduce those lunchtimes. So we reduced it to 3 lunches, which gained us a lot of minutes, and we were able to add those minutes to a flex period. You can sometimes adjust if you're a smaller school, maybe you adjust the time between classes. The recommended length for a flex period is 30 to 40 minutes. A lot of people get into if you're a block schedule or what are those old Carnegie units of things? And you can get around your Carnegie units because now everything is about mastery learning. And so, with the online stuff and the virtual programs, the seat time can be worked around because you are basically adding seat time as well with your 35 minutes, and you can do that for different periods when they need it. So there's ways to get around that if you're concerned about that piece of it because of the mastery learning approach that's going on. The big thing, and this is what hung us up for a couple of years we were doing that, is you need an organizational tool. And there's some different organizational tools out there. I'm a proponent of ours, obviously, because we've been using it, but there's others out there as well that I'll share those. But the big thing is it has to have the ability for students to choose. It has to have the ability for teachers to have ownership and also control. So students feel like they have the choice, but in the system that you have, in our system at SOS, if a teacher selects a student can't override that selection. They can't change from that. So the student has choice, but you ultimately have the most choice. And you have the most ability to control where students go, where they need that. So you need that organizational tool. The organizational tool helps keep track of attendance. It helps keep track of where students are. It provides the opportunities that are there for everybody. So as I said, organizational tools that are out there, ours is SOS, Student Optimized Services, Flex Time Manager, eHall Pass, Smart Pass, RTI Schedule are all different ones that are out there. I'll tell you that our SOS program has added another feature, a couple features of ours. We have the Flex organization, but we have a hall monitor, so a hall pass system that can be utilized, and then an in and out. So a lot of schools have kids that are leaving for dual credit, they're leaving for internship, they're leaving for co-ops, and we have an in and out system that kind of helps track those as they come in and come out to be able to keep an electronic version of that attendance. So just wanted to share that with you as well. This is my contact information. Also, I'm at St. Henry High School. I really enjoy sitting down and just having conversations about the work you're doing. So I want to open it up now. If anybody has any questions specifically about a flex period or what might be done during a flex period, or where you're at in your journey and what kind of help you want to need. All right. Well, Natasha, there's no question. I don't see anything popping up in the chat. So
Yeah, I was just curious. I was thinking about your organizational system, so I want to look into that just because I don't know what it looks like. So I'm curious for my own learning. And I just want to say I loved the flex time that you guys had at Dixie when my kids were there because I knew that they were picking and choosing things that mattered to them and they were getting that extra help or, that college exposure or whatever it was that they needed. So I loved this. You packed in a lot of good information in a short amount of time.
So you mentioned a question of what it looks like. So this is just, for
Yeah,
people's
I'm
viewing.
curious.
And I'm a our demo system sometimes is a little it's off time. Let me see if I can pull up. Let me see if I can pull up real quick. I'm gonna probably show it. Oh, shoot. Let me see if I got it on my see if I got it on my other screen. I got to figure out. I'm on two different screens.
I know.
I hate it when I do that.
Maggie has a question. Can you show your
Sure.
organizational systems list slides again? So maybe access to your slides and or your organizational systems list slides again. So yeah, I think
The which
she's
slide particularly?
the
The one that
Oh,
organizational
it's
systems.
like your
systems.
next to last one with the eHall
Gotcha.
Pass and
Yep.
SOS, that list. I tried to
Yep.
Yes.
screenshot it real quick, but I was too slow.
Yeah, not a problem. Let's see. Should be that one.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Not a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an identity switch with a student and in our demo system, and just kind of show you. Um, So basically, a student has a link they go to. This is their week for the day.
Mm-hmm.
Students kind of default to an area. So cafeteria is the area here. And then for them to select, they would go over here to a particular thing. Here's a listing of all the options that student has in regards to what they could select. And teachers can set it up where it's open to anybody in the school. They can set it up where it's just open for their students only or their team of students. And so all the kid does is they click on an option and it comes up here in their selection. They click that change workshop, and then you can see up on that date it changes. It tells them what room to go to. The teacher can provide a note for what that workshop's about if they want to. They can customize in that way, and a kid can make the different selections at different times depending on the day. We always have the students be able to make their selections till 15 minutes before the actual flex time starts. So they have that flexibility to be able to do that. So that's just a quick thing of what a teacher or what a student would see when they make a selection, how easy it is.
Nice. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's got to be a way to organize all those kids, right?
Organization's huge for sure.
Yes.
For sure. If you guys have any other questions on my slides, I think it's in the Google Slides or in the document from the EdCamp, so you can find my information there. You can email me and let me know if you have any questions. Like I said, I love to kind of work through people's problems and help them determine how we can help them. So,
All right. If no one else has any questions or comments, you guys are free to go back to the main room. You did really well on time. We got about 5 minutes left.
thanks.
I'm sure you have that pretty much memorized. You've been doing it for so long.
I've been doing a lot. It's something I'm passionate about, so
Yeah,
I love talking about it. I try to change things up a little bit this year from what I did last year. So, talk about, there's a lot of good reasons to do it. I think some people get hung up on the reasons. Some people get hung up on the logistics of it, and that's the other thing I
yeah,
like to try and work through because it's overwhelming. When you first start, it's like, I'm not sure how this is going to work.
yeah, especially in a big school.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Natasha. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. See ya.
Bye.